Hi, Bill Caskey here, author of Same Game, New Rules and creator of the Sales Leadership Academy. Before I forget, if you have not already downloaded the Sales Leaders Checklist, make sure you go do that right now. There are 12 ideas that you can put into play immediately to help instruct and inspire your team and also to be more influential inside your company, and that's what we know you want to be. Today's video is actually going to be two videos. The idea is that we're going to take this topic that I find that almost no sales leaders do well. And actually, this is something that salespeople can do too. This is something you could teach to your team. We're calling it the Sales Leaders Cadence. And what it is, it's the month at a glance of where you're spending your time. In this video, I'm going to share with you kind of the overview and dive a little bit into detail. The next video, we're going to talk in much more detail about what these areas are. I've divided them up into three sections. There's the pink, the orange, and the yellow. And the pink on this is all about when you're spending time with your team, either in one-to-one coaching situations, which I don't think we do nearly enough of, or in a sales meeting. So you have a team that reports to you that you're in charge of and oversee. The pink area is where you're spending time with them. These are blocks of time, which we'll get into a little bit more later. The orange area are all those personal learning times. And I know we don't spend enough time there. So it could be when you're being coached by a coach similar to us, or maybe you have a personal coach. It could be where you are learning from books and podcasts and videos. I believe that you need to take several hours out of your month to really study, to read trends, what's happening in sales leadership, what's happening in sales, what's happening with messages, what's happening with marketing. You need to be really good at devoting time and discipline to working on yourself. We also have in here a rejuvenation day. And there's a lot of data that's coming out now that says if you're going to be working hard 40, 50 hours a day or a week, 40, 50 hours a day, it probably seems like 40, 50 hours a week, you need to take some time. And I know you have the weekend, but these rejuvenation days you should take at least once a month. And it could be relaxation, it could be exercise, it could be walking, it could be golf, or it could just be in the library where you're really not focused necessarily on anything other than just learning. But this rejuvenation day, some people will tell you that you need to take one once a week. I feel that's a little bit aggressive, but once a month you ought to get away. Get away from everything and allow all the pressure to be relieved and start to embed some of these things that you're learning. The yellow part is any kind of non-sales relationship. It could be internal relationships with your marketing people or with customer service managers or anybody that you work with internally inside your company. You need to develop those relationships. I'm sure they're already good, but they could be better. Another part of non-sales relationships could be the executives on your team if you're on the executive team. If you're not, you want to develop better relationships with your owners, your presidents, your CFO, all the execs. Another area is networking with other sales leaders. It could be that you have sales leaders in your network. Just take them out to lunch or coffee and pick their brain a little bit. Find out what are they doing, what are some of their problems, how are they navigating through the maze of social media and content marketing and all that. And then the other is recruiting. I think that any kind of recruiting you can do, even if you're not looking for someone right now, it pays to always be in the recruiting mode. So I like to devote a couple of lunches a month to recruiting new people. So in the next video, we're going to talk a little bit more in detail, but as you see, there's three different areas. Once again, the amount of time you spend with your team, the amount of time you spend with yourself, and then the amount of time you spend with the non-sales relationships. Once again, this is all part of the launch of the Sales Leadership Academy. If you haven't downloaded your Sales Leaders Checklist, make sure you do that right now. See you for part 2 here in a few days.